My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins, and the grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. Today's meditation brings us to the Basque Country in Spain. It's the year 1491, and a boy is born by the name of Inigo Lopez de Loyola, also known as Ignatius of Loyola. He grew up to be a proud young man. He stood just under 5 feet 2 inches in height, with an abundance of hair of reddish tint, most of which he will lose later on in life. We know that he enjoyed music, exercise, and friends. Right away, Lord, you remind us that the saints come in all heights and colors, with lots of hair or totally bald. The exterior does not matter. What matters is the interior, our union and friendship with you, which moves us to love you and to love our neighbor. Returning to the life of our saint, at the age of 26, Ignatius became a knight in the service of one of his relatives. In his autobiography, he describes his life during this time as follows. I was a man given to the vanities of the world, whose chief delight consisted in martial exercises, with a great and vain desire to win renown. How about me? At this moment in my life, am I given to the vanities of this world, to praise, to be acknowledged by others, to have power over others? 4 years later, while Ignatius was defending the citadel of Pamplona against the French, he was hit by a cannonball. This resulted in a bad fracture on his right leg and damage to his left. A month later, he was taken to Loyola, where his condition became so serious that it was thought he would die. He recovered, but decided to undergo again another surgery to correct mistakes made when the bone of the leg was first set. From a human perspective, one may say that Ignatius was not very lucky. But when one looks at these incidents supernaturally, one cannot help but see divine providence. In his unfortunate situation, Ignatius had much time to read. He was forced to read what was available in the castle where he was recovering, which was a book on the life of Christ and another on the life of the saints. There he encountered an idea that changed him completely. He came to see the service of God as holy chivalry. He thus resolved to dedicate his life to imitate Christ and his saints, to be a knight for God. In my life, how do I perceive unfortunate events? Do I get angry and upset, or do I see divine providence? Do I fall into self-pity, saying to myself, "Oh, poor me," or do I keep my head raised up, accepting these incidents, the cross, as great opportunities to grow in holiness, to identify myself more with you, Jesus? After these incidents, Ignatius went to the Marian shrine in Montserrat, and then to Manresa, a small town about 50 kilometers from Barcelona. There he had a spiritual experience. In his autobiography, he writes that the eyes of his understanding began to open. This spiritual experience led him to write the fundamental elements of his booklet, the Spiritual Exercises, which have been used by many ever since to discern the will of God during retreats. 3 questions Ignatius invites us to ponder in the Spiritual Exercises are the following. What have I done for Christ? What am I doing for Christ? What ought I to do for Christ? Jesus, in this time of prayer, we also want to ask ourselves these 3 questions. What have I done for you? What am I doing for you? What ought I to do for you? From Barcelona, Ignatius went on pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and soon after he started to study for more than 12 years before accepting to be ordained a priest. He wanted to be well-formed and possess a good education to help souls, even if this meant years in school with classmates that were much, much younger than him. Perhaps drawing from his military career, Ignatius was convinced that someone who is well-trained can accomplish better and in less time what someone without training could never accomplish. How about my own professional life? Am I well-trained, well-prepared? Am I competent in what I do? Do I produce good work? Do I realize that work can be transformed into prayer when it is well done and when it is done for love? Many times we see our life of prayer on one side and on the other side, my work. Then we say to ourselves, if I could only work less so that I can have more time, finally I will be able to concentrate on my prayer. Lord, help us to move away from this nonsense and always realize that work can become prayer, that we can encounter you in and through our work. Fast forwarding in the life of our saint, Ignatius eventually completed his studies in Paris. There he gathered a group of followers who were to be co-founders with him of the Society of Jesus, also known as the Jesuits. One of these followers and co-founders was St. Francis Xavier, a great missionary. The vows they took were of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Obedience not only to the superior elected by themselves, but also to the Roman pontiff. This special vow of obedience to the Pope was called by Ignatius the cause and the principal foundation of his society. In this time of prayer, let us renew our filial love for the Pope. Jesus, grant us the same love that Ignatius had for the Holy Father, to be in tune with him, to be very united with him. Ignatius also wanted members of his order to possess great adaptability and mobility. He writes, ready to live in any part of the world where there was hope for God's greater glory and for the good of souls. God's greater glory was so important to Ignatius that he chose for the motto of the Jesuits, ad majorem Dei gloriam, for the greater glory of God. Their thrust was mission, to go to the peripheries. At the same time, they paid close attention to formation and education. It is no surprise that they were greatly influential in the Counter-Reformation in the 16th century in Europe. Jesus, in my life I want the same. Not my own glory, but your glory. Everything I do, no matter how small it is, for you, for the greater glory of God. At the same time, I also want to go forth to the peripheries, bringing the light of the gospel to the existential peripheries present where I am at this moment. At the end of his life, there were about 1,000 Jesuits divided into 12 provinces in Italy, Spain, Germany, France, Portugal, India, and Brazil. In Rome, Ignatius left a permanent mark by establishing the beginnings of the Gregorian University and the Germanicum, a seminary for the German candidates to the priesthood. The Church has canonized to this day 52 Jesuits, and today, as we know, our Holy Father, Pope Francis, is a Jesuit. Jesus, on this day, as we celebrate the memorial of St. Ignatius of Loyola, we give you thanks for giving your Church this great saint. Together with Mary, may he intercede for us, so that one day we may meet him in heaven. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations that you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help to put them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.